Heavily armed, responding, but not in the mode that you might fear if it was an ongoing kind of a confrontation. But it's still too early to determine exactly what we're dealing with here or the stage of this investigation. But indeed, if one suspect is in custody or at least neutralized, and possibly two, as I said, there may be more than one person involved in this. That is a good sign.
I think there's probably
with the robot going in to make sure that the officers are safe and that the situation is under control. We will be learning much more at any moment. We are sure of that. In the meantime,
I am too.
Schools in the area
Can you come back to me?
Hold on, yeah, wait your turn.
Asking for us to go
no,
back.
it's me.
Darla, let's go right back to you. What do you have?
Yes. Well, let's see. I have two witnesses that we've seen, David, and the activity that I have, I really give the viewers some perspective of what the criminal activity could be. These people are beeping their horns a lot around downtown here, but see, potentially, David, we could sometimes we get forced into these anti-crimes, and these units they have the warrant squads. This could have been a plain clothes officer witnessing perhaps taking a crime away and then taking the place. So you talk about criminal activity. I mean, obviously there was no robbery here, I mean, it ain't like there was a robbery at 17th JFK anytime, or things going on inside the cemetery down at William Penn there. But again, if we need to know, if these suspects were under surveillance by, say, the Jersey City plainclothes officers in the, in fact, some anti-crime officers saw a crime and it taking place, and that's one thing we really want to sort out. Here when we talk about criminal freaking activities, that the viewers had a little bit more of a perspective on that since you added that David. So that's a great point that you made there.
No.
Well, are you okay, David? David? I'm sorry, I can't hear you. David, are you there?
That was certainly the examples you gave might explain how a confrontation might occur there and then escalate into what you see here, a full response from local, county, and state, along
David.
with New York City offering its aid for the mayor and through the ESU units to this response of this active shooter investigation. Again, we are being told at least one suspect, possibly two, appear to be neutralized. That was occurring inside a bodega where at least one gunman had barricaded
there was one gunman, David,
during after the confrontation with the police officer.
Yes.
That officer being treated right now in Jersey City Medical Center, PBA, sending out tweets asking for prayers, not only for that officer, but for all the officers who have put their lives at risk to bring safety back to this area. Let's check in again with TonyY8's and see what she has from that location. Tony, any updates?
Yes, I have an update, David. There was cars driving down this street over there. I seen there was a black vehicle. It had lights. It was like red and white Christmas lights. And when you go over there, you'll see the same thing in Center City, William Penn building. It'll give you the lights right there. But in order at this time, the points, those officers that point, they went up Grant Avenue because they were pointing up Grant Avenue. And they made a right on Bergen Avenue, and we're told that that's a few blocks away from where that bodega is. David, it says as you're reporting that the bodega that they were at, that they got those suspects. Okay, they got the suspects neutralized, and they're checking the bodega right now to make sure that there's no types of if everything's clear, still sending officers to the area where to make sure that nothing else is happening there, David. And so around the bodega, we haven't heard any reports lately on no more shots. We haven't heard any more soundtracks for the gunshots that we've been hearing. That's been sporadic, shutting on and off, but So the scene has gotten a lot more calmer since we see the officers coming, and so I tell you what, this region is we're devastated here at New City, Jersey, but they have worked seamlessly, David, on in securing this area to make sure it's safe. So those two witnesses can get ixnay on the Alkingtay, and be sure that some of those areas over there that would be quite that would be a good place to put them right over there, David. I was thinking if you go searching and you make sure that there's no one else over on who's injured. I mean, they have kind of taken control of this whole area. I mean, and making sure that it's as safe as possible, because we don't want any more of these incidences right here. Because end of watch is December 10th, 2019, David. That was 100 days. The detective Joseph Seals, well, he passed away. I mean, he passed away from opening up the seals at this point. But everything's calmed down at this time. We're seeing more foot traffic happening now because, gangsters on the road with their boots on the ground. Also in this area. But whenever someone comes, whenever these officers, David, whenever they come around here, they've got their long guns and they're in heavy riot gear. I mean, they're heading up Grant Avenue right now on Bergen, possibly heading down to that bodega. The bodega, it's a few blocks down from William Penn Building. But thank you, and we will let you know what happens with the president when we see the president, that he's briefed on the New Jersey situation here, because we're going to have a situation. Wolf Blitzer should probably take care of that, but that gives us a lot of sense of the sound of the shooting. Now I want to warn you of the images that you're going to see when you hear these sounds.
An urgent manner, because we presume that this officer was a distance away,
He
probably
was,
in a
yes.
staging area. But the sound,
it was a
that's what we
staging
want
area,
you to
for
focus
sure.
in on. Why don't we play that for you?
Yeah, let's hear that. Why was there a pause? Man, that's crazy. There's a pause, David. Yeah, it's right up ahead. It's right up ahead. I can see that there's a sign up there that says two witnesses crossing the street. It's right ahead, David. And but the shoulder injuries from the officer, you can imagine. This is a big concern for parents who have had children in the school districts. Of the city boards of the board of ed. The president, he's telling us that all 43 schools, David, are on lockdown, and they're like the schools, the parents, they don't call the police, all right, for updates and getting in undated rights, of the children that are in. I'm not reading. Then the protected area. That follows the protocol over in the situation room that happens with, as we say, in old times. Of course, it's mentioned that the president, he hasn't been updated and is he's following the situation very closely, David. And the governor, he's of New York, the governor of New York and New Jersey. They're on top of this story, David. We've mentioned that the mayor has Bill de Blasio offering his support and saying that he's closely monitoring the situation. It's ongoing. It stands ready to assist in any way possible, David. Right away, possibly right now, how much of the attention is being focused on the bodega. I mean, where we believe at least one suspect, David, was at least one suspect not have been neutralized. So you can pretty much interpret that however you want. Neutralized. The question is, what happened? Where are they? What are they going what they're going to try to do next is try to determine what they're dealing with, because they have a robot, David. I mean, the robot can go and barricade these. It can simply barricade the situations at any time when you're using the in a negotiation type situations. With the squads as well as what I'm told, they're being deployed. So before we really get a lot of viewers asking, so let's go to Tony. Tony, are you there?
Will somehow determine if it is safe for officers to enter and then examine the situation. So I just saw Tony a moment ago. Let's go back to her. She's at the scene.
I'm not her. I'm him. Yes. So, well, Tony. I'm Tony. I'm here now at the scene with the situation at the room, and presently the air it's the only helicopter we see at this point. So you see the truck over at the fireplace, engines up the street. They've arrived shortly. Who typed that in there? And we were heading up. We were heading up Claremont Avenue, and we were immediately turned around as they were seeing us, because they were told this active shooter, David, was still and at that point, David, it had not been secure, as we've been standing out here for the past hours. So we've seen heavy equipment. We've seen hundreds of law enforcement officers, and from across the region, and the state police. They come over. They come to the aid of Jersey, and the police try to secure this area here. We are nearly an hour later, so and people are starting to come out of their houses now. I mean, to start to come out of the stores to look, David, and see what's going on. Because there's some traffic, and it's still happening. I mean, in this area. But if you go further down JFK Boulevard, you might see some flashing lights down there, and we believe that those flashing lights is the Christmas tree that's over at right out front of the William Penn building there. So it's close to the cemetery. The cemetery and that's still they have that area of JFK Boulevard cornered off probably because at the point. Looking for evidence, trying to secure that scene that is okay. There are literally hundreds of officers here. I mean, heavily armed. At this point, probably still trying to make sure that this area, David, is around the bodega, right? Is safe. And we're probably told about three blocks away from that scene, because that's about 3 blocks from the William Penn building to 17th and JFK Boulevard. Yeah, several dozen police officers are heading that direction. So we've seen the SWAT teams, David. I'm going to send it back to you in a moment, just to make sure that you get the full report down here at the street where the initial shooting happened, right down the road there, because you see there was a Comcast building, and then there was where that deli was over there. Well, let me go to stop and go. Tamika, what are you saying about the stop and go?
As possible, because we don't know where this person is. So this is going to be active out here for quite a long time. Again, the good news is we have not heard any more reports of shots being fired, and the update that you have given us that at least 2 suspects have been neutralized.
I understand,
so we will continue to stay out here and hopefully get an update from police as soon as possible.
Thank you. Okay, so the Jersey City Medical Center, where they have a live camera with the officer. Right now, he's being treated at at St. Christopher Hospital for the people that got shot with the wounds in their arms and stuff. But there was a PA sent out tweeting asking. There was well, let me check that again. I think at the hospital being shot, the incident where we're told the officer was shot in the shoulder. So we don't have any further information in terms of that officer. The conditions of the end of the PBA sending out the tweets. Yeah, they're sending out the tweets asking for prayers and support. If you, for this officer and for anyone that was in a line of fire, we need to support them, and we need to pray for them. So the event, we just also got a statement from the Attorney General Gerber Graywall. He in the statement you gotta check. I mean, get this. In the statement he writes, the situation in Jersey remains fluid, and we are working closely with our local county, state, and federal prosecutors to ensure the safety of everyone involved. So listen, guys, please keep the officers of the New Jersey Police Department in your thoughts and prayers, and as they work to resolve the situation of getting rid of the real Joseph that's opened up the seals, because his time end of watch, December 10th, 2019, was so it's extraordinarily. It was a sacrifice of those officers in that hospital, right? So now on her condition, it's unknown, David. At this time, we're being told that you can just put a script in front of me, and I can pretend I'm not reading too. I mean, I never did this before in my life, but it's the first time I push record and just figure, hey, let me see how this works here, because everybody else seems to be having some fun, acting like a fool. So it's 12:30 in the Bay Area Cemetery in Jersey. At some point, the gunman, or there's been more than one left at the scene of the crime, and they fled to a bodega where they were barricaded. So back to you, John. If you want to give it one last update on what you think is really going on over there in Jersey City.
A remote robot is going to make its way into the bodega to check on those that may still be inside it. There was at least one victim from that bodega, we were told earlier.
Yes, I heard that too, David.
Talk to police and kind of give them the information they needed to understand what was happening inside that store. That person told them there were as many as 4 other people inside the bodega at the time the shooting occurred. Unfortunately, we don't know anything about their conditions or their situation or what was behind them being in there.
I don't know what's going on either. I'm just getting information as I go.
The one thing that we have been told, though, is that this is not tied to terrorism in any way. It appears to have started as some kind of criminal activity. Now,
it was
just
a criminal
act. From our assignment desk. They're being told the suspects are inside the J.C. Kosher supermarket.
That's John
This is on
Bigleck's
223 Martin Luther King Drive. It's not a bodega. It's actually a Jewish supermarket. So as I said earlier,
yes, it is a supermarket. It's a good one too.
Much of this information changes as it comes into us, and we learn more details.
It's
on
like
what
all the
exactly,
time, all the time.
we're dealing with, and some of the facts of the case. And please, we ask that you stay with us and understand that. But this is the information as they give it to us.
I'll stay with you
Sometimes it's
one
flawed
last
at the
time,
very beginning. But
Scotty.
one person is believed to have been inside that supermarket at the time was injured. So that is something to be considering. Up to 4 people were inside, and police are attempting to locate them.
I hope they find them soon.
Okay, police are checking out the U-Haul that the suspects are believed
to
have
they're going to throw me in a U-Haul.
Apparently must be tied in some way to
they're going to tie me in
I'm not
there?
sure where that U-Haul came from, and
I'll find out soon.
Just been handed to me. Very fluid story. TonyY8's, I know you're on the scene. You've been listening to the story as it unfolds and the many twists and turns of it. But what do you make of this so far? If there is there was a U-Haul now that they appeared to
Yeah, they're what?
makes you wonder. I'm sorry, Darla Miles. I'd like to check in with you.
No, Donald Miles, you wait. All right, he's checking in with me first. All right, wait in line over there. Okay. So, David, as you just saw, I was on the phone checking with one of my sources, and I'm trying to get some information right now about that U-Haul, whether or not those suspects fled by Bayview Cemetery, and that U-Haul just want to point your direction over there. Is going to be a lot of police activity surrounding William Penn Building. That U-Haul and searching. It's obviously when it leaves the scene, David, of an officer who was shot there, but at the Bayview Cemetery. Just to recap again, David. For any of the viewers who may be this one thing pointing out, joining us right now, we do know that there was an initial interaction with droves. He and a city officer in the Bay Area Cemetery. It's one or the other. I mean, and then the scene. Yeah, it was the Chapel Avenue. From that scene, 8 minutes later, David. About 8 minutes later, 2 miles away, was an exchange of gunfire, and reports of a suspect barricaded where TonyY8's is at. He's at Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard. He had a dream as his birthday's come up, or the day of 2020, and where behind me you can see where the cemetery streets leading to the cemetery here on Garfield Avenue, David, are completely blocked off. We have to. It's where there's some type of search is going on. There's evidence that needs to be collected. Of this cemetery. Now, again, back to what you initially said, David, is we want to know what type of criminal or activity may have led to this shooting, and we're searching. Again, sources are telling us that these were plainclothes officers. In Jersey City officers, so they could have been in a specialized unit, possibly surveilling any suspects in advance, or there's a possibility they may have witnessed a crime activity. Those are all details. We're still trying to we're still waiting on to get that right now from the Jersey City Department of Police. As you mentioned, David. A number of agencies are responding to the scene, because when you have an active, shooter investigation as two scenes involved, you definitely want to make sure that you definitely make sure that all the evidence you secure from those witnesses, get all the stuff that you got, their phones, any kind of technology you have. Witnesses are technically about a mile. 1.1 miles. We have evidence, and possibly, between the Bayview Cemetery, the William Penn Building scene, and the bodega, which is 17 JFK Building 8 scene, and anybody who may have witnessed the suspects fleeing from the cemetery over to the Holocaust supermarket, Market Street, also near Philadelphia, so that's one reason why the swath and the net has been cast so wide, okay, so that the investigators can make sure that they preserve any type of evidence and any type of witnesses from the initial shooting scene to the bodega where there was an interaction and there was a standoff, David, all right, with law enforcement officers on the side of the Danforth and Garfield and Chapel on Bayview Cemetery. As you can see, traffic is moving. The majority of the police activity, David, and the barricaded streets they're beyond the SUV in the street that you see right now, because that again was the route of that the suspects took from the cemetery interaction to the supermarket and an unmarked MLK Boulevard. So we want to know, obviously, what led to this interaction with law enforcement officers. We want to know how many suspects again have we're getting a number, David. We're getting a number of reports. I know how many officers were involved in that particular shooting. We do know that at least it's confirmed that one officer was shot and in the shoulder. But at this point, now that's those two suspects to mention have been neutralized and inside of that supermarket, and they know that the U-Haul is related because they stole it. So the suspects that left, they left over there. This initial shooting scene going to the bodega would be a part of the particular interest of to make the law wants to enforce the officers to search that U-Haul, David, for evidence to find out again what led to this entire levy of activity. This afternoon, David, is addition to all of this is concern. Now, if there were people inside of that supermarket that would have been injured in all of this possibility for the workers. So that's possibly consumers shopping at this time, just caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. David, I don't know what else to tell you. You might want to interview the other guy that he has another story for you, David. I think his check on, hey, what was that again?
Supermarket, and again, maybe two. It's not even confirmed that a second one was neutralized. The most that they can offer us at that point is that. And the most they can offer us also is that at least one Jersey City police officer has been shot. It could be more. We don't know. It is a fluid situation, and we ask for your patience and understanding as we try to get you the facts as soon as they come in and bring them to you. The one Jersey City police officer we do know about, again, shot in the shoulder, being treated at Jersey City Medical Center as we speak. Now, again, police are telling us this all appears to have started as criminal activity.
I tell you,
no nexus to terrorism, but the question then goes, what was that criminal activity?
Are you asking me what the criminal activity was? Well, David, I got to tell you, it's been moving toward looking. I've been looking for getting inside that supermarket to really ask us firsthand what the situation is, and as they know is this much: someone was in that supermarket shooting at police, and no word yet on if they fired back at them. We don't know what kind of exchange, gunfire occurred. We don't know. The reports, though, that there was someone with the gun shooting that supermarket that was caused the barricade situation. At this point, though somehow that situation it appears to be neutralized. We've gotten some reports of additional shots fired. And out of that supermarket, and so we're waiting and weighing it out to hear anxiously. We want to know what happened inside of that supermarket and what's the condition of any of the people, David. I mean, who are inside that may have caught this in this crossfire of this event that beers have started at 2:30 again at the Bayview Cemetery. From the information that we're being told anyway. I mean, David, we're being told this information and there appeared to be others. The gunman who fled, he fled to the neck of the scene of the supermarket to hold up, possibly to try and try out of baby. Again, live pictures of the scene. Much of the area now is in lockdown, particularly around this supermarket. You know, for sure, the supermarket. You know, it's one that the supermarket is one that is at the center of all this activity going on right now. At this 2-3. Well, we're here at 2-3 Martin King Drive. Ray is the JC. There's a JC Kosher supermarket that we're being told now. You'll see a lot of people walking casually and comfortably because our cameras are far from much of the area, of course, that the high area of the high concern right now, where all the shootings took place, and you heard the soundtrack. Safety reasons, of course, and obviously a lot of people you're seeing in a safe zone with the police over there. Yes, so not sure why this happened, except that a criminal activity had, but we're told as being behind the initial aspect of the shooting, but for some time it's beginning at 12:30. At their very least, there was a person with a gun. That's all we know. A person with a gun, and that was barricaded. And inside of in a confrontation, we have video. We have sound of the gunshots that were being fired, and at the very time, I mean, they're very dramatic. This very dramatic scene for the parents to have in the system as a result of the concerns out of the abundance of the caution. All schools lockdown, regardless of the fact that none of this was really focused at a school. I mean, they did it so to keep the neighborhood safe from the children, have them all locked down until they can deem it safe to let the 144 out of lockdown after all this stuff takes place. Still waiting to hear information. So you can imagine that you're telling the ASU Christ at the state police department in New Jersey with the city agents on the scene. Back to you, David.
Any of the first responders that are there right now. We have a team of reporters who have been covering this story for us. Tony Yates has been on the ground. Darla Miles